The xenobiology classroom of the Galactic Academy fell into silence as Professor Vexitar brought in the containment unit. The enormous cage, constructed from reinforced Durasteel and buzzing with energy barriers, cast foreboding shadows throughout the amphitheater. Within it, something large and dark moved restlessly. "Today, young scholars," the reptilian professor hissed, his forked tongue sampling the air, "you are about to observe one of the most feared predators in the known universe, a Terran apex hunter." The diverse class of alien students leaned forward in their seats. Crystalline Zapparians chimed anxiously, their translucent forms shimmering with unease. The insectoid cricks clicked their mandibles in eager anticipation, while the gaseous nebulans swirled more tightly within their containment suits. Only one student appeared unfazed by the spectacle. Sarah Chen, seated in the back row, had her dark eyes focused not on the cage, but on her datapad, where she was reviewing quantum mechanics equations. The 19-year-old human exchange student had gained a reputation for her brilliant analytical skills, yet she seemed indifferent to the theatrics that often accompanied xenobiology demonstrations. "The specimen before you," Professor Vexitar continued, "is what Terrans refer to as a wolf. This specific creature was captured from the northern regions of their home planet. Take note of its predatory posture, the calculating intelligence reflected in its eyes, and the raw power contained within its deceptively compact body. The wolf, a large timber wolf with silver-gray fur, pressed against the bars of its cage. Its yellow eyes scanned the classroom, exuding what most species would interpret as barely restrained savagery. Several students instinctively recoiled. "Observe how it assesses each of you as potential prey," the professor remarked with academic detachment. "This is the evolutionary outcome of millennia spent as Earth's apex predator. Even now, despite being contained and outnumbered, it exhibits no fear, only the cold calculation characteristic of a killer." The wolf's gaze systematically scanned the rows of alien students, causing each one to flinch as those predatory eyes locked onto them. However, when the wolf's focus reached the back of the classroom, an unprecedented event occurred. Its ears, which had been pinned back against its skull in a display of defensive aggression, suddenly perked up. The previously rigid posture transformed into something entirely different. The wolf moved closer to the side of the cage nearest to Sarah, and to the utter astonishment of everyone present, it began to whine. "Fascinating," Professor Vexar remarked, his reptilian features contorting in confusion. "I have never witnessed this behavior before." For the first time, Sarah lifted her gaze from her datapad, locking eyes with the wolf. The creature's whining grew more intense, and it started to paw at the cage door, its tail, which had been held stiffly in a dominant manner, now wagging uncertainly. "Professor?" Sarah spoke softly, her voice resonating clearly through the stunned silence. "You may want to reevaluate your assessment." "Excuse me." Vexitar's head turned toward her, his serpentine neck extending slightly. Sarah rose, closing her datapad with a gentle click. "This is not an apex predator assessing its prey. This is a pack animal, separated from its family, stressed and frightened, attempting to assert dominance in an unfamiliar environment." She descended the steps toward the cage, disregarding the collective gasp from her classmates. The wolf's agitation heightened, but not out of aggression. It was a desperate hope. "You perceive a killer because that is what you have been conditioned to see," Sarah continued, halting just outside the energy barrier. "But I perceive something entirely different." The wolf pressed its entire body against the cage wall nearest to her, whimpering and frantically pawing at the barrier. Its actions were in stark contrast to the controlled, predatory assessment described by the professor. "You're feeling homesick, aren't you, boy?" Sarah whispered, and the wolf's ears perked up at the familiar tone of human speech. Professor Vextar slithered closer, his instruments detecting energy signatures and behavioral patterns. "This is impossible. The containment protocols explicitly state." "Your containment protocols do not take into account the instincts of pack bonding," Sarah interjected. "Wolves do not thrive as solitary predators. They are social beings that rely on family units for emotional and psychological stability. This one is not exhibiting aggression. He is displaying desperation." She turned to address the class. For the first time since the semester commenced, every alien student was captivated by her words. "Do you wish to comprehend why humans are distinct? It is not due to our status as apex predators. It is because we learn to coexist with them, to gain their loyalty and become part of a pack." The wolf emitted a long, mournful howl that caused several students to cover their ears. However, Sarah moved closer to the cage. "We did not dominate Earth by being the strongest," she stated softly. "We achieved it by being the most intelligent in forming alliances, by recognizing that even the most perilous creatures could become allies if one understood their true needs." Professor Vextar's instruments were detecting unprecedented neurochemical changes in the wolf. Stress hormones were decreasing while bonding chemicals surged dramatically. "The true lesson here," Sarah continued, addressing the class while maintaining eye contact with the wolf, "is not about human predatory instincts. It is about human pack instincts. We observe other species and perceive potential family members rather than mere prey." The wolf's whimpering had transformed into a sound that nearly resembled conversation. Low growls and gentle huffs were directed specifically at Sarah. "Professor," she finally said, turning back to Vexar, "if you wish to illustrate genuine human nature, you might want to consider returning this wolf to his pack instead of using him as a tool to intimidate students. Because at this moment, the only thing he fears is dying alone and being forgotten." The classroom remained quiet for an extended period. Then, gradually, Professor Vexar began entering commands into his control pad. "Perhaps," he remarked thoughtfully, "there is more than one lesson to be learned today." As the energy barriers deactivated and the cage door unlocked, the wolf did not rush forward to attack. Instead, he approached Sarah with the cautious hope of a creature who had just been offered something he believed was lost forever. Understanding, the other students observed in astonishment as the most feared predator in known space gently pressed his enormous head against the small human's hand, finally at peace. And in that instant, they started to comprehend what truly renders humans dangerous. Not their potential for violence, but their inexplicable capacity to transform enemies into family.